Hello, I am Nadine Carty-Keynes, and thank you for joining us at the Emergency Operations Center, EOC, for an update on the situation regarding the novel coronavirus, COVID-19, here on Nevis. I want to take this opportunity to welcome all our viewers and media houses that have joined us virtually. All questions will be taken at the end of all presenters. The Nevis COVID-19 briefings are aired on Mondays and Thursdays each week at 8 p.m. on Nevis Television, or you can view the briefings on YouTube or Facebook via Nevis Television, Nevis HPU, or NDMD, Nevis Disaster Management Department. With us today, we have the Honorable Premier Mark Brantley, Minister of Health and Gender Affairs, Dr. Judy Nisbet, Chair of the Nevis COVID-19 Task Force, Mr. Lyndon David, Superintendent of the Royal St. Kitts and Nevis Police Force, Nevis Division, Ms. Delicia Julius, Counselor of the Mental Health Unit, Mr. Huey Sargent, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture et al., Mr. Gilroy Pulte, General Manager of NEVLEC, and Mr. Fayon Jones of the Bank of Nevis Limited. And now I invite the Honorable Premier to give his remarks and updates in regards to the coronavirus here on Nevis.
Good evening, everyone. I have come at the invitation of the COVID-19 Task Force to continue to seek to lend my voice and to demonstrate my support to the efforts and the work that is being undertaken thus far. I certainly want to thank our lead, Dr. Nisbet, who has been in touch with me at all hours of the day and night. So we have been seeking our very best to keep abreast of what is happening and certainly put ourselves in the best possible position to maintain the safety and security of the people of Nevis. I want to thank her and all the other members of the COVID-19 Task Force, and thank all who contribute to this briefing that we've been doing now twice weekly as we seek to move this process forward. I can say that I'm very encouraged by the numbers that we would have seen just yesterday, that we have thus far been fortunate that we have no new cases of the COVID-19, no confirmed cases, and that has been the case now for well over 3 weeks. And we are hopeful that that trend continues till in good time we can declare victory. At this point, I want to urge the public not to relax their guard. That whilst we are optimistic, we are still cautious, and that we have to ensure that we continue to do all the things that our health professionals have advised us that we must do, including the social distancing, including washing hands often with soap and water, including coughing or sneezing into our elbows, including, of course, ensuring that we stay at home. If we do not have to be out, then stay at home. That is the rule of thumb, and everywhere around the world we're seeing that infections have dropped, confirmed cases have dropped when our people have been responsible. And so we continue to urge our people to be responsible if they're going out in public to wear masks, as we're doing now, and that all of us in leadership, we must lead by example, and so we're seeking to do that. Now, just a few things quickly. The details, of course, of the briefing comes from others, but it is for me to continue to encourage our people to be responsible and to be disciplined. And I think if we are responsible and disciplined, we will see the back of this COVID-19 pandemic. We will have to take some steps immediately thereafter to try and rebuild, but of course that will be for purposes perhaps of a different briefing at a different time. I want to commend Huey Sargent, our Permanent Secretary of Agriculture. I want to commend the Honorable Alexis Jeffers, our Minister of Agriculture, because today I'm aware that we're able to make good on our commitment to our fishermen, and we're able to deliver free fish pot wire to some, the first roll being free, and then subsequent rolls we are making available to them at a 50% discount. That was an initiative that we took as we continue to press this cause of food security, greater food security, and that applies to our livestock farmers. We have waived fees that they are taught to make it easier on them. It has applied to our crop farmers with free water, free labor, we've assisted with fertilizer, we've assisted with seeds and seedlings, and we've assisted with free land preparation. So all of those are factors. And then, of course, on the fishing side, we have committed to, and I'm happy that yesterday we got a good shipment in of the fish pot wire, and we're able to hand those out today. I'm sure you'll probably hear a bit more about that. I'm also to report that through the assistance and the generosity of the federal government, that we have students who are returning home today from Jamaica. We know that families have been concerned, and so we're truly happy that we could provide some comfort and peace of mind to those families, and that they have been returned home from Jamaica today. We wish them safe flight. We think they should be touching down somewhere around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and we hope that they will be well. Now, those students are coming from what is now being referred to as a hotspot in Jamaica, because we've seen an escalation of cases, confirmed cases of COVID in Jamaica. And as a result, they will be quarantined in a government facility. We have prepared a facility with Wi-Fi, security, and everything else that they need. And so we can assure the parents that they will be comfortable. And they will be quarantined for up to 14 days. And thereafter, we will be guided by the health experts as to what next steps would be. We welcome them home, and we trust and hope that their parents will have a bit of ease of mind, because many were concerned. Now, of course, what that has triggered is my phone has not stopped ringing from people who are saying, well, I have a child away studying as well. We have them in New York, we have them in London, we have them in Guyana, we have them in Trinidad, we have them all over. And what is the government doing to bring everybody home? And so what we are asking our people is to understand that the situation with Jamaica was a special case. Why? Because it was in response to an escalation of confirmed COVID cases in Jamaica. And we were concerned that our students in Jamaica were at a higher risk of contracting that disease. And so a decision was taken to move people. We also had a larger number of students in Jamaica in terms of a concentration, because I believe some 50 plus students are being evacuated today. So what we've decided as a government, both at the federal level and at the NIA level, is that where we have students abroad who are in need, and I emphasize that, because we recognize that not everyone would be in the same position. So students who are in need can seek to get in touch to determine what assistance might be made available to them there, so as to make things a bit more comfortable for them where they are. But we are asking our students, if they're in Texas, in New York, wherever they happen to be, to shelter in place and to ensure that they adhere to the same safety standards that we are asking here. And if they are in need, to reach out to us. They can reach out to me, to P.S. Wakely Daniel, or to the Permanent Secretary Edson Elliott in HR, to determine what assistance might be made available to them. The reason why I'm specifying people who are in need is because we recognize that were it not for COVID, students would be in class right now. They would have had, of course, their apartments paid for, their food and meal plans paid for, etc., up until perhaps June, when ordinarily the semester would come to an end. And so we anticipate that some students would perhaps be all right. Others who depend on part-time jobs and the like to get by may not be so all right. So we are asking our people to be understanding, and for students who are in need, we'll seek to assist them there. Short answer is that we are not, at this point, able to fly every single person home. And so we are asking our people to understand that reality, and that if that changes, we will let people know. But at this point in time, it is just not possible. Bear in mind, we have students as far as Taiwan. So it would be incredibly difficult to airlift everyone, because with the airline traffic not being what it used to be, at this point, it means that we have to charter. So one could understand the logistical difficulties and the cost. The cost of the flight from Jamaica, just so the public knows, is $75,000 US. That's the cost of that late flight to bring those students home from Jamaica. So I give that as an indication of what it is we're dealing with. And again, we're asking for our people to be reasonable. We have had some 5,000 units of hand sanitizer donated by Four Seasons Resort Estates. I want to thank them. They're the recent large donation that we've had. I recognize that the Bank of Nevis is here, and they will be doing something a bit later. I want to thank the management, staff and the board of directors of the Bank of Nevis for always being our bank and always being there for the people of Nevis in times of difficulty. And I want to use this rostrum to say thank you to them for their generosity. I want to thank again all of our frontline workers, Nevlec, Water Department, Sanitation, all the people who have been out working even in difficult circumstances, even where we have had a situation where, of course, we've had lockdown and curfews. They've been doing what they need to do. Many of us flick the switch and we take it for granted, but that's because people are out there on the front line working even while we are locked down to make sure that we have all the amenities to which we have become accustomed. So I want to extend my thanks to all the frontline workers and to let them know that they continue to have our fullest support and commitment. The hand sanitizers that we've had, we intend to distribute to households in Nevis. We intend to do the same with masks because we feel as a government that if we are mandating now that people must wear masks, then we have to ensure that they have the mask to wear. I have asked and continue to ask for patience. The government, through some donations, has ordered some 10,000 masks. Those masks are reusable. They should have been here 2 weeks ago, but we have had some huge difficulties with shipping. And so each day I'm getting updates, and I'm hopeful that we'll have those masks soon enough so we can distribute them and that the people can feel a little more comfortable as they go out. In the interim, however, I've made it clear that all government workers should be provided with masks and the necessary hand sanitizers so that they're comfortable in their places of work and that we maintain the social distancing and that we lead by example. The NIA will slowly start to reopen. A lot of offices are now functional. Places like health never closed and others never closed. But some workers were working from home, and that is now going to start slowly. We expect next week that we will have heads of departments going in to prepare, and then we expect in the following week that workers will be asked to come out. It will more than likely be on a shift basis, so we can ensure that we maintain the necessary social distancing. My final word is, ladies and gentlemen, we have made progress. We believe that the strategies deployed, the hard work of our professionals, that has borne some fruit. But we do not want to let our guard down. Everywhere around the world we see where people have let their guard down and start to rejoice too quickly, COVID has come back in a dreaded second wave. We are trying to ensure that that doesn't happen here. And so we ask our people to continue to be disciplined and continue to be responsible. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Premier, for your remarks. And I'll now invite Mr. Brian Dyer, who is the Director of the Operations Center here at Disaster Management.
Hi, good evening to the viewing public. Just to provide you some statistics, the COVID-19 task force established the task force to ensure that our businesses are inspected. And the compliance task force were out this week. I started working on Monday, and they have to date inspected 15 establishments. And this 15 is comprised of not only our supermarkets and stores, but also our gas stations, etc., and one laundromat. It is important to note that during the inspection, the team took time out to educate the owners and the business operators of hand washing techniques and what they should be providing to the general public, such as hand sanitizers, paper towels, etc., and also hand washing stations for the employees. Even though the 15 may seem small, they have been doing significant work in the education part of it. So I want to commend the COVID task force team that are engaged in the inspection and public and education awareness at these facilities. Right. The Honorable Premier mentioned that the students would have arrived in Nevis. The EOC and our task force was also instrumental in ensuring all logistics for their arrival has been completed and ensure that a smooth transition took place for the arrival of the students. And finally, I would like to say a special thank you to Ms. Isima Martin, who provided some lunches and snacks to the Alexandra Hospital staff. The Bodies Restaurant, who provided lunches and breakfast for the EOC staff on Tuesday. And Mr. Orville Liebert, who has gone above and beyond the call of duty to accommodate the Ministry of Health with regards to not only the accommodation for the Cuban delegation, but also the arrival of our students. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Dyer, for your presentation. And I'd like to welcome Dr. Judy Nisbet, the chair of the COVID-19 task force, to make her presentation.
Good evening to everyone. As of today, April 30th, we have tested 98 persons on Nevis. We have received 92 negative test results, 4 positive test results. We have 2 test results pending. We have currently 3 persons in quarantine, and we have released 213 persons from quarantine. Now, all the positive cases continue to do well. And it has been 23 days since our last positive result. This suggests that our public health and social measures are working. And so we encourage persons to continue to practice hand hygiene, cough etiquette, physical distancing, wearing of masks in public, and to stay at home if you have no reason to be out. Now, I wanted to divert a little bit because this week, April 25th to May 2nd, the Pan American Health Organization and countries of the Americas are celebrating the 18th vaccination week with the slogan, Love, Trust, Protect, #GetVax. I want to take this opportunity to remind and encourage parents to ensure that their children are up to date with their immunization schedule. We know that there are public health and social measures that have been instituted to curb the spread of COVID-19. However, we are ensuring that most of our health services are still being offered. Immunization and child health clinics continue while we ensure social distancing. Vaccines save lives and protect our children and also adults from vaccine-preventable diseases. Please contact your health center if you have queries regarding services available at the health center. And the health centers are open on days of limited operations from 8 until 4, and on lockdown days from 8 until 12 to attend to any emergencies that may turn up at the health centers and for dressings or any other problems that persons may encounter. Please use the health center, get vaccinated, love, trust, protect, #GetVax. So please do not ignore other areas of your health, as I've said here before, even as we fight COVID. Thank you.
And now I'd like to invite Mr. Fayon Jones from the Bank of Nevis Limited to make his presentation.
Good evening. Permit me to adopt the protocol already established. I'm here to present a donation on behalf of the Bank of Nevis Limited. However, before I do so, I wish to express gratitude to the medical professionals and first responders who are working tirelessly to save lives. We owe a huge debt of gratitude to all of you. The safety and well-being of the people of Nevis and the entire Federation is of paramount importance to us. Accordingly, the Bank of Nevis Limited has decided to make a donation of $15,000 to to assist with testing. We hope that this donation will help Nevis Island administration in its fight against the coronavirus. We must remain resilient, and we shall overcome. I thank you.
Mr. Jones, on behalf of the Ministry of Health, the Nevis Island Administration, and the people of Nevis, I wish to thank the management, staff, and the Board of Directors of the Bank of Nevis for this very generous donation. We need all persons on board. We need all persons to be a part of this fight against COVID. This fight needs a whole of society approach to beat this epidemic. We are therefore grateful that our good corporate citizens, the Bank of Nevis, has come on board. I am told that this donation is to be used for testing. The goal of the NIA is to have capacity to test on Nevis. And this contribution, therefore, will assist us in making this a reality. So thank you, Bank of Nevis.
Thank you, Mr. Fayon Jones of the Bank of Nevis for your generous donation. And thank you, Dr. Nisbet, for accepting on behalf of the Ministry of Health and the Nevis Island Administration. I would now like to welcome Mr. Gilroy Pulte, General Manager of NEVLEC, to make his presentation.
Good evening, everyone. I am here to explain the relief initiatives that we had announced a few weeks ago because just to ensure that there's clarity in terms of how it works. The relief initiative is in two categories. We have one relief initiative for our domestic customers who are affected in some way, either that they are laid off fully or they are on reduced pay. And for those customers of ours or affected workers, they would receive a 50% discount on their electricity bills for April, May, and June. And for our commercial customers who are affected, and which would comprise mainly our restaurants and hotels, they would receive a full deferment of their electricity bills for the same period, April, May, and June, meaning that they wouldn't have to pay the bills during this period, but they would eventually have to pay them after the expiration of the 3-month period. And we do recognize that they may not be able to pay the 3 months in full, and so we are prepared to enter into some kind of payment arrangement with those affected businesses, hotels and restaurants in particular, to allow them to pay over a 3 to 6 month period. Now, I am going to go into the criteria for persons to qualify for these two initiatives. So for our domestic customers, first of all, as I said earlier, you have to demonstrate that you are affected in some way. And the way that you can do that is by showing that you're benefiting from the Social Security economic relief by either having a letter or something that shows that you're receiving something from the Social Security. That is the first criteria to indicate that you're affected. The second one is that the electricity account in question on which you want the discount has to be in your name, okay? Now, there may be some cases where an account may not be in your name, and you would have to provide evidence that you are responsible for the account. And one example would be that you might be renting a house, and for some reason the account is not in your name. It could be in the landlord's name, it could be in your girlfriend's name, it could be in your wife's name, but the lease may be in your name. So if you can present the lease, and the lease is in your name, we would provide you with that benefit of a discount. And the last one is that you would have to prove that you're the individual, and so you'd have to present your ID. So these are the three main areas that you would have to demonstrate for you to qualify for the domestic initiative of 50% reduction in your bill. And all that means is that if your bill is saying $200, for April you would only be entitled to pay $100, and the other $100 would be a discount to you. Okay, and for our commercial customers, as I said, the initiative is a deferment of your April, May, and June bills not that you have a discount, it's a deferment. You have to eventually pay the full amount after that 3-month period, and we are likely to give you a period of 3 to 6 months to pay it, recognizing that it is going to be difficult to pay all at once. And in both cases, both for the commercial customers and domestic, I forgot to mention that earlier, you would have to clear your arrears prior to April. So if there was any arrears on the bill prior to April, for you to qualify, you would have to clear the arrears. We recognize that could be a challenge, and in some cases we may be prepared to engage with affected workers to some extent. So going back to the commercial customers, you would have to clear your arrears. You would have to provide a business license for your business, and the account would have to be in the name of the owner of that business as per that business license. And once that is done, your hotel or restaurant is automatic. You would get the relief of a deferment. If you're not a hotel or restaurant, it's going to be a little more complicated, but the onus is going to be on the business to provide some evidence of being affected in some way, and we will deal with those cases on a case-by-case basis. Okay, so in a nutshell, this is what the two relief initiatives are: one for domestic of 50% discount for only affected workers, and for restaurants and hotels and businesses that are affected, a full deferment of the bills for 3 months. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Pulte, for your updates from NEVLEC. I would like to welcome Superintendent David to provide his updates in regards to the police force here in Nevis.
Thank you, Nadine. Good evening, all. At this moment, I will present you some stats, and then I will explain certain things that we have been experiencing during the period thus far. Thus far, we have 486 patrols conducted, 54 vehicular checkpoints, 12 persons were arrested for curfew breaches, and 4 of them were charged. 9 were informed that there will be summons. We have 5 crimes were committed during the period, and we had 4 persons arrested and charged for those matters. And we are conducting a lot of vehicle stops. Thus far, we have conducted 1,022. So we are out there ensuring that you are safe, not from COVID only, but crime and other vehicular offenses that we may see from time to time. I want to repeat the retail liquor license suspension. Once you are offering liquor for sale, as retail, their license is suspended, so you should not be exposing them for sale. You should not offer them for sale. We're hoping that persons will continue to comply with these things. Remember, we're trying to prevent social gathering. And once you can prove that none of that is happening, then, you know, based on the regulation, we may permit you to do so. But if you cannot ensure that will happen, well, you will not be allowed to open. We've been paying attention to passenger buses during this current period we are under today in terms of day of limited operation, and we have seen where majority of the bus drivers are complying. I would say that we are doing things so seriously that some persons were asked to disembark because they may not have a mask. So we are encouraging persons, once you go on a public transport, ensure that you are adhering to all the restrictions and guidance that were given to you. So please, passengers, you want to go about your business, do what you have to do. Wear your mask, sanitize bus drivers, ensure that it's done, and ensure that the windows are open. No rain is falling heavily, so we expect that the windows should open, and if rain is falling, we know close for the AC. Essential workers, we are saying that we have seen some of you are still not complying, in that when you're not working, you're out and about, which is wrong. We want you to comply. We're not going to be so patient at all times in warning, but some of you may have to be summoned, some may have to be arrested. Avoid that from happening, and just show that you're a responsible person. That's why you're essential, because you're a responsible person. So let us continue that trend. We are seeing also that where a number of the vehicles that we stop, most of the persons, they were to be on the road. they got permit, they were essential workers. So we want to continue to encourage our persons out there to continue to comply. The task force, it was mentioned earlier, comply with the instructions given and the guidance given. So, in order to ensure that you continue to operate as a business person, just comply. Simply comply. Permit holders and essential workers, as I mentioned earlier, is not a license for you to be disrespectful to the police and defense force when they stop you. Stop. Once they approach you, just make sure you equip with the document to show. Those of you who are given permission from time to time, yes, we will have it. The officers on the road will have your number, your name, and that can be easily verified. We are seeing, in some instances, persons go to the beach. Yes, we are saying to you, we didn't give you permission. So if an officer out there bring you to the station, that's a matter for you. What we are saying, comply. With that said, I just give God thanks for his continued mercy, meaning that thus far he has sustained life. And he has given us the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding to deal with what we are dealing with here to be successful. Thank the governments, both federal and local alike, staff of the Royal St. Christopher Nevis Police Force here in Ireland, the medical staff, disaster staff, all you essential workers who are making it possible, the citizens who are continuing to support us by staying at home and wearing your mask and going out when you're supposed to go out, and the businesses, ensuring that your patrons are doing what they're supposed to do. And as usual, our violators, we are saying to you, this is the side you have to come on in order to prevent COVID from spreading. Join us and ensure that we do not have any more cases and that you and your families remain safe. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Superintendent David, for your updates. And I would like to welcome Ms. Delicia Julius of the Mental Health Unit to provide her presentation.
Good evening to one and all. The Mental Health Unit has sought to maintain some regularity in our services. During this period, we have however adjusted our programs to adhere to social distancing regulations. Doctor's Clinic is maintained on Wednesdays, even during lockdown, with doctors seeing cases that warrants immediate attention, follow-up cases at doctor's request. Doctor is still available by phone on other days for consultation, which is utilized by the outpatient doctors and nurses. In-house counseling sessions have been limited to those warded at the Alexandra Hospital. However, ongoing sessions are held with clients via phone for this period. Daily visits to clients are maintained, where medication is administered to clients regularly. We must say that persons have been compliant and have called for our assistance, which have aided in our continued service to our general public. We are asking, however, that we be patient as we process new and old cases, as we continue to follow protocol. Provision has been made for those persons who are presently on the street, and I want to pause to just recognize the collaboration of social services and the Alexandra Hospital, who has worked with us in ensuring that meals are provided for those persons on the street. We cannot forget the police officers, who have also helped us in getting some of the clients to get their medication. We are also working with the Social Services Department, the Counseling Unit, and the Psychosocial Team, headed by Ms. Curtis Clark, the Guidance Counselors Association, headed by Ms. Sabina Prince. We are also working with the Mental Health Psychosocial Committee in St. Kitts and the Mental Health Association, also in St. Kitts, headed by Dr. Crawford and a team. As of Monday of this week, the Mental Health Psychosocial Committee St. Kitts and Nevis and the Mental Health Association St. Kitts, along with PAHU, has launched a daily mental health tip through social media cards. It can be found on the SyncIT's mental health website, health promotion here in Nevis website, and it is found via WhatsApp. If you have been tagged, we are asking you to pass on the information. Articles on mental health related topics are found on the Mental Health Association website, which is SyncIT's. We continue to work together to provide information to the general public. Now, usually when mental health is mentioned, some persons cringe or state that we're not crazy. However, if you are experiencing emotional or psychological issues, then we want to encourage all not to suffer in silence. Call the psychosocial hotline set up by Red Cross, and they will be able to connect you to the relevant agencies for assistance. If credit is an issue, that is not a problem. You can reach them via WhatsApp, and they will direct your call. So, what we are experiencing, we know is not our norm. Our means of socialization has been restricted, but we can still make a call. Just hearing another's voice goes a long way. Call out to your neighbor from across the fence. Maintain good distance. Maintain good coping strategies such as limiting the amount of COVID information you listen to. Use means of relaxation such as meditation, reading a book, listening to music. Try exercising. And for those persons who have those old board games, pull them out. Play a game or two with another family member. Refrain from alcohol or illicit drug use, which can impair judgment and may cause more problems than good. If there is a need for psychosocial support, don't be afraid to call. We have noted when a person has a mental illness, it does not affect the person alone, but the entire family, for some of the community or some of the community. It then means that we must all be involved in the care of these individuals. Remember, there is no good health without mental health. Let's start the conversation. It might just save a life. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Julius, for your presentation from the mental health unit. Our final presenter, Mr. Huey Sargent, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture, would make his presentation.
Good evening, all. Let me start with the very good news, as was referenced by Premier Brantley. We had 56 vessel owners collecting fish pot wire today, and those all went for free. Tomorrow we have a 50% discount on other fishers who are interested in having wire. And we continue to thank our fishers for adhering to the health protocols, and in particular for those who use the services of the fisheries complex to sell their fish wholesale, as we try to enforce this social distancing and trying to ensure that we have no large gatherings. Also happy to announce that the strategic plan to feed our people that was implemented towards the end of last month is beginning to yield some success, as we are about to start harvesting our first crop, which is lettuce. And just to update you, we have in season, we have tomatoes, we have lettuce, peppers, fruits, we have papayas, and we have cherries, or we also call them Bajan cherries or Suriname cherries. We still have some green banana, and we'll soon be harvesting sweet potatoes. And we continue to thank the members of our general public for their continued patronage to our farmers. We have seen an increase of patronage across the island from our farmers and our roadside vendors. Earlier today, we started our labor assistance program to our farmers, and we are using our existing staff. We initially thought about hiring staff, but obviously because of our social distancing protocols, we realized that we were not using all of our staff every day. So in furtherance of our program, we decided those staff that we're not using, that we would assign them to different farmers, and that began today, and they're assisting in planting, weeding, and pest and disease control to our farmers. We've also assisted 2 farmers in the establishment of green or shade houses on the island thus far. And we are working on a package for the assistance of our livestock farmers, which is inclusive of fencing wire and supplemental feed. We have a situation where our livestock farmers, quite a number of them do not necessarily own a lot of land, but they own a lot of livestock, and we're encouraging them to cut and carry, to cut the feed and take them to their animals as opposed to letting their animals roam, because they can become a nuisance on the road, and also they affect our crop farmers who tend to suffer when these goats and sheep tend to go into their property. At the abattoir, we still trying to observe our social distancing and health protocols. As a result, while we have begun the processing of our animals, we are limited to just 30 animals per week. And that thus means we are having to go a lot slower than we normally do. And we're just asking our farmers to exercise some patience as we try to do the best that we can. And also at the abattoir, we have good stocks of beef, pork, and mutton, as well as our processed products such as burger patties, sausages, and ground meats, as well as our specialty cuts. We continue to assist in land clearing and preparation, and we have already prepared an additional 7 acres of land for farming. And we want to thank the Ministry of Communication and Works at this time for their assistance with heavy equipment. And finally, persons who are interested in patronizing our agro-processing unit, they're asked to call 664-6540 to order our specialty pumpkin and cassava composite bread. Our goal at the Ministry of Agriculture is to have food and nutrition security, and we do encourage you to stay safe and observe the necessary health protocols. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sargent, for your presentation. And I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all persons who have presented here today. And I will now open up for the media to ask their questions. In the meantime, I do have a question that was sent from a citizen in the St. John's area. And I think this one is for the Honorable Premier. St. Kitts Nevis benefits from cruise ships, flights coming from places such as the United States to boost the tourist industry/economy. Because of the negative impact that the pandemic has on these countries, do you think this will deter the reopening of our borders?
Thank you very much for the question. The short answer is that we will be guided by our technical experts. We don't know, and we have been asked, but we cannot say when our borders will be reopened. Currently, borders are closed because we wanted to prohibit the importation of COVID-19. And we have put restrictions on our own people at home to prohibit the movement of that virus, because we've been told by the experts that it requires human contact in order to spread. And so we are unsure when the borders are going to reopen. We'll have to be extremely cautious about that. We have seen in other countries where they said that the second wave of infections have actually come from people coming into the country. I think we saw that in China itself, when they suggested that people coming home from other countries brought the virus with them and led to a second wave of infection. So we have to be careful that the gains that we would have made, we don't squander those gains. And so I don't have a specific date as to when we might reopen. What I can say is we'll be guided by the experts and what they say to us. We must bear in mind that most of our source markets for tourists, for travelers, are themselves now under tremendous stress from COVID. The United States, particularly the eastern seaboard of the US, and of course places like the UK, London in particular. And so we have to be very careful that even if we reopen, that when we reopen, we monitor and perhaps even restrict travel from some of those destinations until such time as we're given it all clear. So this is a science now. This has to be driven not by the politics or the politicians, but by the technocrats and the people who have the knowledge. And they have not led us wrong thus far. The success that we've had is really attributable to them, and so we'll continue in that vein to listen and to act according to the advice that we get. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Premier. Shamika Budgeon of Vaughan Radio Newsline. Of the students that will be returning from Jamaica today, can you clarify how many are from Nevis?
Thank you, Shamika. As the Premier would have said, we are expecting over 50 persons from Jamaica. 21 of those would be coming to Nevis. Thank you.
Good evening, Monique.
Hi. My first question is directed to Dr. Judy Nisbet. She spoke about the NIA trying to get the test for the COVID-19 done on island. How far is the NIA from doing that?
Thank you, Ms. Washington. As you could appreciate, it's quite a challenge right now to get certain equipment because of the outbreak. We have been looking into it. We have a possible source already, and we therefore think that quite soon we will have the machine on island.
Thank you, Monique. Do you have another question?
Yes, and my question will be directed to the General Manager of Nevis.
Okay.
He spoke about the 50% to persons that are directly affected by COVID-19. My question to him, though, is persons that are not affected, but for whatever reason they cannot get to the office, or they might have spent their money on food or on other things, will those persons still be up for disconnection after the 2-month period or whatever time it is that you normally go up for disconnection if you don't pay your bill?
I'll let Mr. Pulte answer that. Hold on.
Thank you for the question. The honest truth is that I think it's come up in our discussions, but we really have not made a decision as to what is likely to happen if we're going to disconnect people if they don't pay. We do encourage people to try and pay online, and we have been opening our office on partial curfew days and have realized that a lot of people are coming in to pay. But we have briefly discussed the issue of what is going to happen if people don't pay, but we have not made a decision. We recognize it's going to be a very sensitive one, and so I can't really tell you at this point in time what the decision is going to be. It's going to be based on looking at our financial position and various other factors. So hopefully at some point I will be able to answer the question, but at this point we have not made a decision, and we are going to be sensitive to the customers, but we have to ensure that we can survive as a company also. Thank you.
All right, General Manager, a second question. Now that everyone is home, there is obviously more consumption of electricity. Are the generators at the plant able to take the capacity at this point of time?
Nice question. So you would have recognized that we had estimated our bills, our last set of bills, and we estimated the bills based on the last 4 months of consumption. We did recognize that because people are at home, that the consumption would probably be a little higher, and our estimates may be a little low. There is absolutely no issue with being able to supply the power at this point in time. We have been struggling for a long time in that our plant is very old, but due to the very, very hard work of our people in the plant, we have been able to supply the country. And you would recognize in the last few months, you've hardly had any outages. And so it is really because of the hard work. And And though the domestic customers might be consuming a little more, the hotels and the commercial businesses have been affected. And so, in fact, the last time I checked, our demand had actually dropped by 10%. So there's absolutely no issue in being able to supply the power. It is, yes, our domestic customers would have increased their consumption, but generally our overall consumption has dropped. And that is why we have to be very careful what we do going forward, because our consumption as a company, as a business ourselves, we are going to be affected. Okay, so there's absolutely not an issue in supplying the load, and because of the COVID-19 situation, the price of fuel on the international market has come down significantly, and because of that, bills also would, even if your consumption is a little higher, I believe that your overall bill in terms of dollars would be lower because of the surcharge being much lower. But to answer your question, there's absolutely not an issue right now to supply the customers because they're at home. Thank you.
Thank you, Monique, for your questions. Shamika Budgin of Von Radio Newsline. Mr. Sargent, is there a set date to restart the farmers market here in Nevis as yet?
Thank you for the question. We have looked at the matter and we have not made a decision. We are conscious of the social distancing protocols, and we know at our farmers market we often have quite a large gathering of persons, but we do recognize that people are in need of the local items. We have not decided, but it is something that is being considered.
Thank you, Mr. Sargent. We have now come to the end of our question and answer segment, and I want to thank the media persons for asking the various questions. So I would like to remind persons to obey the rules of the state of emergency and to be safe and to protect themselves and others by practicing the various hand hygiene etiquette, cough etiquettes. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth with unclean hands. Disinfect touch surfaces and objects often. Eat your vegetables, eat your fruits, drink lots of water, and get those exercises in to keep your body strong, to stay fit. And practice physical distancing always, and to wear your mask when you're out. The hotline numbers are 311. COVID hotline number 311, or you can call 661-5051. And remember to sign up for the Nevis Health app at kn.unhin.org so we can fight COVID-19 together. I want to thank the Nevis Television, Disaster Management, Caribbean Digital Displays, Cornerstone for making these briefings possible with the technical support they provide. I am Nadine Carty-Keynes. I want to thank you for viewing and see you on Monday for our next EOC briefing on COVID-19 here on Nevis. Thank you, and stay safe.